is Anthony Munoz, and we're going to cover some offensive line blocking techniques, and this is the greatest offensive lineman to ever play the game, so we're going to get some of these things going for you. Okay, the segment we'd like to get into now is basic one-on-one run blocking, and we have to start with a premise of a particular play and where the ball is going to cross the line of scrimmage and get down to the very basic fundamentals. So let's draw a little bit on the board here. Of course, this being the center, this being the left guard, this being the left tackle, this being the tight end to the left, all right, this being the left tackle, this being the left guard, and of course this being the center. Now hypothetically, all right, let's just draw up a defense where we put a man on the left tackle or slightly on his outside shoulder, a man on the left guard, and a man on the center. Okay, that's a hypothetical defense that we may or may not see, but so we can get everybody's angles and aiming point and contact phase, let's take her from there. Let's draw a quarterback in here. Now let's draw a running back. And let's say the running back's going to run somewhere in this off tackle hole, just so we know who we're talking about as far as the people at the point of attack, inside the point of attack, and so forth. So let's assume that Anthony Munoz is our left tackle, okay? And this play, we're going to run right over his butt. So Anthony Munoz, the left tackle, is at the point of attack. Okay, he's the man we're running over, excuse me. All right, the left guard is the first man inside. The center now is the second man inside, okay? The right guard now is the third man inside, or away from the point of attack. And what I'd like to do now is just talk about basic aiming points, contact points, whether we use our hands or our shoulders or our forearms when we're blocking. We'll go right down the line of scrimmage and we'll assume that Anthony Munoz is the left tackle, then he's the left guard, then he's the center, then the right guard. We'll also put a right tackle up here. But again, I want to make sure we understand we've just got a hypothetical defense of every offensive player has got a man on him. Now we're going to the point that our aiming point is over the butt of the left offensive tackle. So let's isolate on our left tackle versus a man on him, okay? So we'll move over here to this diagram, and we'll draw the center, and we'll leave a big hole for the guard, and we'll just isolate this left offensive tackle, okay, on a man on slightly his outside shoulder. And we're assuming that the football is going to be run somewhere over here behind the left tackle, okay? Since this blocker now is at the point of attack, okay, we like to use this technique right here. We call it a drop step, because that's what we do, all right, and we call it a punch block, all right? And what I'd like to demonstrate now is our punch technique when we're right at the point of attack. Okay, now, that blocker right there, which would be Anthony Munoz, our left tackle, he'll be in a left-handed stance. So remember what I talked about. This is the defender. His left foot is slightly back behind his right foot. All right, now what we like to do is we like to take this left foot or the outside foot and drop it slightly, and we put the whole foot on the ground, just like the duck demeanor. And our aiming point with our eyes is basically about 2 inches past the midpoint of the defender, or almost on his outside number. So say the defender is number 66. Our left offensive tackle, he would put his eyes on a landmark towards the outside number. If I was the defensive player right here, the aiming point, his eyes would look right into this area right here. That would be the aiming point. All right, our left offensive tackle, he'd take a slight drop step, and I'll show you what that looks like. And the reason is because when the ball carrier is back here, it takes him a little bit of time to get to the line of scrimmage. So we don't fire out as hard as we can and try to knock the man back. We bide a little bit of time to get our feet underneath us, to get our center of gravity movement. And Anthony Munoz gets a lot of dominating blocks, pancaking type blocks, when he takes this little drop step, which enables him to sight his target. He lowers his center of gravity. He's got more thrust, and plus it times up to the amount of time it takes the back to get to the line of scrimmage. All right, so understanding that philosophy, let's talk about our punch block. So I'm the left tackle, okay? I'm down in the left-handed stance. I've got a man slightly on my outside shoulder. I'll go through it very slowly. This left foot the ball will be snapped. We'll pick it up and put it down on about that angle, all right? Notice the foot up and down, all right? I bide a little bit of time. I put my helmet and my eyes over to the outside number of the defender, all right? My arms wind up slightly to get some thrust. Then when I cross over with this foot, I'm in my duck. You see, I'm always teaching them how to keep that base. And then when I strike, watch how the hands strike. Boom! It's a big punch. And the way we punch is with our fists, which is totally legal, and it's an upward lift. And remember, when we were doing the duck, it was all body control, form running type. So when Anthony fires out on his punch block, those arms wind up slightly. Boom! He bites that. Bam! And he strikes with basically his knuckles. We have hand pads on. His helmet is over here. And his shoulder turn, though, this is very important. The turn of the shoulders as striking is on this angle. See this angle right here? We don't want to square up to the line of scrimmage. We want to keep the shoulders turned in that plane. The reason is that the defensive man, when he sees us move to the outside slightly and sees our head move, he moves slightly. So in order for us to stay in front of him, or the buzzword is cover him up, okay? We want to keep those shoulders turned slightly. And the drop step, all right, as you can see, enables the shoulder to turn because that creates the most movement on the best angle. So again, if I'm the left tackle in my stance and I'm blocking a man on my outside shoulder, when I drop step and I punch, that enables me to stay in front of the man as he moves to the outside. The point I'm trying to make is we don't want our shoulders to stay square to the line of scrimmage. We want our shoulders to stay square to the man we're blocking. So our angles that we come off the ball are more in this 45-degree angle than in this north-south angle. Because as I said, when the back moves, when the offensive lineman moves, the defender has a tendency to move, and we want to cover him up with all of our body. That's why we use a double punch with outside head position. And that's basically what we call the punch in the double fist blow. We're trying to get all of the man, we're trying to cover him up, we're trying to make him move, and then as he moves, we have different ways that we finish the block, which we'll get into at a little bit later segment. Again, the point I'm trying to make, that when the left tackle's at the point of attack, we're going to run over his butt, he's got to cover the man up more than get the inside part of the outside part, and the best way to cover him up is to take a drop step. And again, when he crosses over, he keeps that same head, so he'll drop, and as he crosses over, he'll stay in the same duck plane. So sometimes he may cross over a little further to catch up with the guy. Sometimes he doesn't cross over as much because wherever his helmet or his eyes take him, his feet are going to follow. Okay, again, I would like for you to look at the feet again. I'm the left tackle at the point of attack. Okay, I'm in a left-handed stance. We drop that foot. This all happens quick. And as we cross over, we punch, boom, upward lift. And we try to move the man off the ball in this angle. Now, the defenders does some different things, of course. He may slant inside. He may move outside. He may come straight ahead on us. And that, I believe, we will cover when we get into the different segment of how to finish the block, how to sustain, and how to maintain the interval, which is usually about a 4-second period.
Another thing to our drop step is our shoulder angle. We don't want to approach the defensive lineman square to the line of scrimmage because then that gives him a two-way go. What we want to do is I drop, you notice my angle of my shoulders is turned and going that way, and that gives me better position, and allows me to cover up the defensive end going in this position here.
You can kind of slow it down, Amp, where you actually show the drop step, freeze it, sight your target, you're whipping your arm. You'll kind of go slow-mo. Okay. On hut. Ready? Set. Hut. Okay, good. All right, beautiful. Hut. Now let's go to the two or three or four things that the defender, all right, the man at the point of attack, this is the defender at the point of attack, this is the blocker at the point of attack. Let's go over some reactions the defender does when this offensive tackle puts the drop step and punch block at him, okay? All righty, again, here's the center, here's the left guard, here's Anthony Munoz. First of all, the defender that we're going to block on the outside number, we take the drop step, we fire out on that angle, and there's a stalemate, a total stalemate. The defensive man is as strong as we are, and nothing's happening, all right? In fact, the offensive blocker, it's like hitting a stone wall. All right, now, therefore, when our offensive tackle hits the defender, he's got to be taught what it feels like to fight through resistance, all right? So we train our offensive blockers. We say, this is going to be a stalemate. So the left tackle would take his drop step, he'd cross over and stay on the duck, and boom, like, oh, nothing's happening. Oh, I almost get driven back myself. At that point, we really emphasize the second phase of the block, or you're almost into finishing the block. The defender is pushing us, there's two bodies muscling each other out, and what we like to do, we get our hands inside, and then we just keep the feet moving, and stay on that duck. As long as we keep the feet moving, right, this defensive man, when the ball carrier cuts this way or this way, what's he going to do? This defensive man is eventually going to take pressure off the offensive blocker and try to make the tackle. So even if we get just a stalemate and keep our feet moving, remember, you keep the feet moving as fast as you can, even if they're in place. Once that defensive man comes off the block to make the tackle, we feel him coming off us. That's where we really push him and finish him. And it's legal to keep the hands inside. So the point is, versus a total stalemate, keep those feet moving, widen those feet, move them as fast as you can, because when the defensive man takes the pressure off you to make the tackle, as he goes to make the tackle, you can finish him and pancake him right to the ground with your hands that are pushing inside. So, offensive tackle, he drop steps, he punches, oh, there's a stalemate. No. Eventually, there goes the defensive man. I drop this foot, and then I push him. So what happens is, he'll go the ball carrier running with the ball. The defensive man comes off the block. He goes to make a one-arm tackle, and we push him and finish him off. So the point we're making is, the blocker at the point of attack reaches a total stalemate. Really widen and quicken your feet. When he takes pressure off you, you really finish him off and push him. But that finishing aspect, that second stage of the block, has got to be drilled so that offensive blocker knows exactly the feeling of how to sustain, to stay on the block. All right, let's go to the next thing this defensive man can do, all right? This defensive man, okay, this is our left tackle, Anthony Munoz. Here comes the ball carrier. We give him a little drop step with a little head position out here, and that defensive man works outside, okay? He really works outside. Okay, the offensive blocker now, he's almost chasing the tackle, and when that blocker goes outside, he's moving. Once that defensive man moves, you can take your inside hand or fist and twist him and actually push him. So the defender didn't stalemate us. He moved with our head position. We're running with him, and then once he gets going beyond our midline, we can just push him and twist him. All right, we can twist him out. Twist him out, all right? So what you're doing, you're actually using his momentum and carrying him one man wider to make the hole bigger. So we talked about the total stalemate. We talked about the outside flow of the defender. All right, those are two things. Remember, stalemate, keep your feet moving. He flows outside, twist him out. All right, if he slants inside slightly, okay, that's the next thing he can do, slant inside slightly. Since we've taken a drop step with this foot, or a slight back step, we can come back and get a piece of him and not miss him, okay? Which means that if I'm the left tackle, I take my drop step, I pause slightly. If that defender goes inside, I can come back and get a piece of him. I can stay on him. I can stay man for man on him. I might pass him off to the next man, but I'm not so out of control that I miss the slanter. Okay? So the man can stalemate, all right? Okay, we talked about that. He can go outside, where we twist him. He can go inside, okay, where we adjust, all right? And the last thing is that the defender plays in what we call the gray area. He kind of knifes right through the inside shoulder of the left tackle. And in that situation, we've taken our drop step out into here, but now we can come back and really get a little more of a piece of him because he hasn't slanted so far. Okay? So that technique would look, I've taken my drop step, and he kind of just plays inside, boom! I can come back and hit him, get a piece of him, be firm on him. And again, all of this is done because we've taken that little drop step, got the whole foot on the ground, haven't just fired out as hard as we can, and we bide a little time, we lose a little ground, we try to cover the man up. When he really flows, we twist him out with our inside hand. When there's a stalemate, we keep the feet moving and wait to finish him. When he slants inside, since we have drop step, we can come back and adjust to an inside move. Our left tackle, Anthony Munoz, is right at the point of attack, so we talked about the punch block, covering the man up, and so forth. Now let's say if Anthony goes in here and he plays left guard, but the ball is still going over here, you know, one man outside of him, that now Anthony becomes the first blocker inside the point of attack. Okay, being the left guard now. Since the ball is going out in this area a little bit, the left guard, his aiming point and his drop step and his technique, it becomes a little wider than the man right at the point of attack. So the left guard now is the first man inside the point of attack. His head position will be a little bit farther to the outside, and he's not going to strike with both of his fists on a punch technique, but he's going to use a forearm blow. We call it a flipper blow. And what we're going to do now is the left guard on this particular play, he's going to be in a left-handed stance, and he's going to take a drop step. All right, but his aiming point is going to be one where his eyes and his helmet basically shoot for a point of the outside hip of the defender. So let's move the diagram over here, here being the center, here being the left guard, here being the man he's blocking. We're going to take our drop step, but it's going to be a little deeper now. We're going to cross over a little farther because our aiming point with our head's going to be a little wider, and we're going to get a little more position on the defender. And to get power and movement, we're going to use our inside forearm blow. So we're actually going to get a little bit better head position and position with our aiming point outside, where the man at the point of attack is going to be a little more square to the man, all right? So in demonstrating that, if I'm the left guard and we're one man inside the point of attack, all right, I'm going to take my drop step, but it might be just a little deeper, a little wider, and then when I cross over with power on the duck angle, I'm going to take my inside forearm, boom, and deliver a lifting, ripping forearm blow. Now, how to use the forearm, of course, is a science itself. Remember, the forearm blow is the one where, back in the old days, invented, I think it came out of Oregon State, in fact, Coach Tommy Prothrow, but they really taught how to rotate those wrists and lift, and you really don't get the shoulder involved, but you get the forearm involved. You have outside head position, and this outside arm pumps for body control. You're on the duck, but you have a little wider head position. The mistake is that when you drop step, use the forearm. If you put the outside arm square up on the man, your shoulders will square up, the shoulders will square up, and the defensive man will get ahead with you. So what you want to do is stay on this angle like the tackle does, but since you're inside the point of attack, your head position is a little wider. The forearm gives you power, it gives you strength. Some of you might call it the shoulder blow. So you have a tight neck squeeze, your head is outside, you're using that forearm blow, you're pumping the off arm, but your shoulders are turned, all right? Okay, now basically this defender, the man over the left guard, he can do the same things. He can move outside, okay? He can create a total stalemate, or he can go inside. You basically do the same reactions as the man at the point of attack, except you have a little more outside position. Okay, you're a little more vulnerable to an inside penetration, but again, the ball carrier is going outside of you. Now let's go to the backside. The man that's the third and the fourth man, we use what we call a rip and a butt block, okay? Now what we do is the ball's going over here, over the left tackle. If the offside guard and the offside tackle were covered, they would take a little deeper drop step to get a little better angle. They'd take their outside foot and cross over right about to the gap, and we use a big rip or uppercut. So it would look like this. Again, I'm the third man or the fourth man away from the point of attack, so I'm on the backside. So in this case, I'd be the right guard or the right tackle in a right-handed stance, okay? Remember, I don't want to get too much of a stagger. I take a little bit deeper drop step. Now remember, don't drop the foot underneath you. It's got to be over and back. And by the way, while we're taking all these drop steps, when you take a drop step, okay, don't go backwards. Your body weight is going forward, or you'll be too passive. So if I'm going to drop step, my weight surges forward. Don't forget that point. All right, so back to the third and the fourth man, we take a drop step, all right, get to the inside, we cross over a little further, and we use a big uppercut. We call it a rip, to try to cut off the backside. All right, now what that does is, that puts our helmet and our body a little further inside than the forearm blow, So we're going a little further. Now, the reason we want to keep our shoulders like this is that we want to make a big running lane. So the backside guard on this play, if he's blocking that man, he wants to keep his body in that manner right there, so the ball carrier will have more moves or have more daylight to run through. So we don't want to turn and wall the man off or scramble the man in the hole. We want to have running lanes. So we like to stay on this angle as we're ripping. Here's what happens. When the defensive man comes behind us or pressures into us, we feel him hanging on our hip like this. We actually come right back and block him with our butt. We back up into the man, all right? The next thing is, sometimes this man comes right around into the backfield. When we feel him do that, we come up here, we turn right back into the backfield to block him. So assume that I'm on the right guard, I'm using the rip technique, I take my drop step, I rip, but he comes behind me, and I'll just turn right back into the backfield and pick him off. Remember, through this whole phase of blocking, when we stay on these angles, okay, these angles, we make bigger lanes for the back to cut through. I'll draw this on the board, and we'll assume that Anthony Munoz is playing left tackle, and he's going to block down on somebody to his inside. Well, when would he block down? He'd block down when everyone else is blocking down. He would block down when the left guard is pulling, and he may block down on a double team block. So we use down blocking. Okay, now, the two types of down blocks we use are, one, again, we'll go over here, and this is our left tackle, Anthony Munoz. We use what we call a near flipper block, okay, or a near forearm block, and we use a cross flipper block, all right? All right, now what we're saying is that we either put our helmet upfield or we put our helmet across, which I will demonstrate. The first block I'll demonstrate is the near flipper block. And let's assume that Anthony Munoz has got a block down on this man, the ball's coming outside of him, and we want to block him, all right? If we feel this defender has got an opportunity to loop over the top, to loop inside, to crash down inside like that, we want to block him with our inside forearm, and that becomes our head position, all right? So what I'll do is I'll go over the exact footwork of our left tackle blocking down on a man somewhere to his inside, what we call the near flipper. Again, talking a lot about the forearm blow. Again, here I am on the left tackle. Remember, all of our footwork is pretty much a drop step. So we'll slightly drop this foot to the inside, like that, just a little drop step, all right? Then this foot will cross over, and we're still on the duck, and then we'll take this forearm and lift it, just like this. Now our angle is going to be more upfield angle, where our head position and our body position is more like this, getting position on the defender. We're not blocking down like this on the man. We've got position with our head upfield, with our inside forearm striking. We pump the off arm for body control. Sometimes this arm pushes to the inside, but that's what we call the near flipper block. Again, I'll walk through it again. We take the drop step, we go boom, all right? I don't know the exact timing. It might be right now. It might be on that third step. But as long as we're always in the duck, we've got our head in tight squeeze upfield. We're using the inside forearm. And remember, there's a science on how to use this forearm blow. That's the near forearm block, or the near flipper block.
Yeah, I want to show what the defender does. On hut. Ready? Set. Hut. Beautiful, right? All right, now we're going to show how we block that kind of guy, or the guy that just sits there. So Anthony's going to use the good forearm blow, pumping the off arm, guiding. Okay? Now, remember, we're going to go slow enough so the footwork looks, you know, you just pick it up, put it down, whatever. Now, you don't have to toe in with that right foot, right, Anthony? Because that's what's going to move first. Yeah, you know, that's my point. All right, here we go. Just walk through it. On hut. Ready? Set. Hut.
When we feel, we're going to see a penetrator. A penetrator, the man's going to blow the gap. He's got a lot of weight on his knuckles. We know he's going to penetrate because we've studied the films. Then we want to put our helmet across in front and use the backside forearm, all right? So that's the second part of it, the cross flipper. And the footwork would be pretty much the same, all right? I take a little bit of a drop step. I don't take a lead step, just a little drop step, and I throw the backside forearm across and really deliver a heck of a blow. And a lot of the times, when I'm going down inside, I'll end up on my hands, like an all-four drill, and then occasionally the man tries to spin to the outside, and I reverse him with my butt. So it would look like this. I drop, I deliver a blow, I'm on the ground, and then I reverse him with my butt.
Set. Cut. Beautiful, beautiful. Now this time, Amp, for whatever reason, put the other hand on the ground, get a little movement, then reverse it. Like Eric, you try to spin out, kind of work outside late. On hut. Ready? Set. Cut. Yeah, you had it, boy. Beautiful, beautiful.
The major point I'm trying to make, which I'm sure most of you do, is there's two ways to block down. One to cut off the penetration where you put the head in front, and one where you're worried about the man coming over your head, where you're putting your head upfield. The timing works best when you take the little drop step because you bide a little time, you get your strength, you can wind up and deliver a heck of a blow. We'd like to talk a little bit now about pulling. And again, your pulling technique, of course, has got to do with what kind of a stance you're in. Remember, Anthony Munoz is the left tackle sitting over here, all right? And he's in a left-handed stance, okay? Which means his left foot is slightly back and his right foot is up. If he has to pull to the outside, it's an easier pull for him than when he has to pull to his inside. So let's pretty much zero in on when we do pull, if we're on the left side or the right side, okay? So let's major in this. Let's say we're in our left-handed stance, all right? That's the inside foot, okay? That's the outside foot, and we're going to pull to our inside, okay? So Anthony Munoz is going to make some sort of a pull to his inside. Here's the center. Remember, he's in a left-handed stance.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. What a clinic.
Now we'll go a little quicker, right? Now we're doing the same thing, right? Okay, here we go. On hut. Set. Hut. Attaboy. Oh, yeah.
Okay, now, if the left tackle were in a right-handed stance, okay, which many of you use, your pull technique would be a little easier, okay? So we'll go through both variations, okay? So really, we can go through a short pull to the inside, a little bit longer pull to the inside, and then we can go to some sort of a pull to the outside, which we'll call number 3. Again, this is the left tackle. He's in a left-handed stance. Down here would be the diagram of the left tackle, all right, being in a right-handed stance. Okay, first thing we'll talk about is our left tackle making some sort of a short pull to the inside, which would be perhaps a tackle trap. Or this could be the left guard running a short guard trap, okay? And I'll show you from behind. So again, we're in a left-handed stance. We're on the left side, which means our left foot is back and this foot is up, all right? So in order for us to go to our inside, okay, and not step on the center as we're pulling, all right, we still take a drop step, all right? So this is what it would look like, all right? I'm the left guard or the left tackle pulling to my inside. I'll go very slowly. I'll take a drop step, right? You see how that foot dropped, all right? Now again, my weight is a little bit more on my outside. I may turn my butt to the outside, but I drop step. I get the whole foot on the ground. I don't drop it underneath me, all right? So it would be here, right? And on this foot has got a pivot. My outside foot, watch the pivot, all right? So watch the action. See the pivot? Boom, boom. Now from there, as I'm running, I run on my duck course. The further my pull, the faster I run. The shorter my pull, I'm more on my insteps because I know my collision's going to be made soon, all right? So as I'm running to trap block on a short trap, okay, let's use the left guard here in a left-handed stance. Let's trap this man here. I take my drop step. I'm going to get up into the hole slightly. I'm going to have my head position right there, and I'm going to hit with a forearm blow, all right? So the left guard, trapping a man over to this area. He'd take his drop step, all right? All right, he'd run on his duck course, and he'd gather himself, and he would deliver a blow with the forearm, pump the off arm, get his butt out of the hole, and climb up the man so I get my feet out of the hole so the ball carrier can run inside of me. Now, the key point, though, is, which a lot of you may or may not do, when this defender comes across the line of scrimmage a little bit, in the old days, we used to let him go. But now, for various reasons, sometimes our ball carriers take the trap block and trap play and run it outside, or sometimes this guy's quick enough to come around and make the play that when we go to trap, when this guy moves a little bit, we use what we call a helmet adjustment. And a helmet adjustment is where on the move, okay, I'm going to trap. I'm going to go up in the hole, but the man comes across. I just take my eyes and try to put my head across and use the opposite shoulder or forearm blow. I'm trying to stop penetration. So again, I'll draw that for us. All right, we're going to trap this man in a left-handed stance. I take my drop step. The center has cleared. I'm going up in the hole, but he's come across a little bit. On the move, if my eyes are open, I'll put my head across in front and use my backside forearm to ride him out. So it almost looks like this. The ball carrier can still go inside, but if he happens to go outside, at least I've stopped the penetration. Okay? So we don't always keep the head inside out on a trap. If he comes upfield, we might try to adjust. Again, the word is called a helmet adjustment to stop any penetration. Okay? All right, let's go to a little bit of a longer trap, all right? All right, so now we'll erase these diagrams here. We'll talk about the left guard or the left tackle. Here's the center. He's in a left-handed stance. Now I've got to pull either down the line or I might have to pull a little deeper, all right? Now in that situation, we still take a drop step because we're in a left-handed stance, but now watch how I'm dropping. I'm almost taking a full gate or a full pivot into the backfield, okay? Boom, and then our second step would be to get on whatever angle you would do. Now, in the older days, I used to really emphasize taking the front side arm and really ripping it back and so forth. We don't do as much of that anymore as we do emphasizing the depth of the drop steps to get on our course. So we may have to drop this foot a little deeper to get on whatever course we want to get on. The point being, when we trap, we don't take a lead step. Everything is still a drop step, okay? Now, oh, beautiful. What a clinic. Now we'll go a little quicker, right? Now we're doing the same thing, right? Okay, here we go. On hut. Set, hut. Now, let's assume that the left guard and left tackle are in a right-handed stance, okay? Which makes it a little easier. Say this is your left guard, okay? And he's going to trap over here, a short trap. Now he's already got this foot back a little bit. He doesn't have to drop it as far. He just picks it up and puts it down, and he goes to there. Let's assume he's got a longer pull. He might have to drop it a little deeper, and he pulls. But again, if I'm the left guard in a right-handed stance, all right? Drop step, all right? Short trap, all right? Longer trap, okay? So basically what we've done is we've opened up our hips to get us on the right plane so our running form is fluid, rather than trying to take a lead step like this and have the hips locked. As you can see, when you take some sort of a drop step, you get everything flowing in the right plane.
All right, this is going to be a drop step. From a right-handed stance, on hut. He's got a wide pull, sit, hut. Oh, I like it, I like it, I like it.
The farther he's got to run to get his assignment, the more he's going to run on the balls of his feet like normal running. The shorter the trap, he's going to get on that duck course a little bit sooner because he's going to anticipate contacts made a little earlier. Remember from early discussions, we talked about, that duck course, or that ability to gather yourself before you strike. All right, now, so what we did is we covered the drop step trap on the short trap. Then we called the deeper drop step where we're going to have to pull to the outside. And that all depends, again, if you're in a left or right-handed stance, but it's all emphasis on the drop step and pivot, than it is so much on whipping the shoulders and the arms, because we have a number of techniques to teach. We don't spend as much time on all the little exact pulling techniques as we used to. If we can get the footwork down, it really helps us. Now let's go to the third pull to the outside. Let's say it's our left tackle and he's a left-handed stance and he has to pull to his outside. He's in a little more comfortable position to drop and pull and get out there. But if he's in a right-handed stance, same theory, he's got to drop this foot first before he pulls.
Set, hut. Oh, yeah.
So I guess the whole gist of this conversation about pulling is, rather than emphasize so much the thrusting of the arms and so forth, if you can get their feet going in the right direction, which all starts with the proper drop step, then you can get your body going on the right course. Remember, the main coaching point we made on the short trap is we'd like to get inside out with our head position like this, all right, and use this forearm, the backside forearm, and free up this arm, make him come around us. But if he does penetrate, we're going to adjust and put our head across in front to stop all penetration so the running back can run the trap inside or outside. The short trap, you're more duck oriented. All right, one more point on pulling, okay, which we've noticed, all right, that if you have a pretty good stagger, now let me show you what a pretty good stagger is. Say the right guard's got a decent stagger like this. When he pulls to the outside, he doesn't have to drop step it any deeper. He can just pivot off his toe, and we call that a toe-it. All right, and I'll demonstrate that for you. Let's say I'm in the right guard, and I've got this foot back pretty good, and I'm down, moving to the outside. I don't really have to drop it any deeper. Now watch the action of the foot. Watch me just pivot off the ball of this foot, the toe. Watch us toe it. Toe, crossover, and run. That's the fastest way to pull. Watch this. Toe, crossover, and run, okay? Now, let's say I've got this foot up, okay, and this foot's back a little farther than I'd like it to be, and I have to move to my inside. Watch this maneuver. I pivot on my heel. Watch this right here. Pivot on the heel. All right, you see that move right there? Ideally, you'd like them to drop it, all right? But they may feel it's up so far it's uncomfortable that when you pivot on your heel, watch this, pivoting on the heel, okay, you're able to put some weight on the heel and cross in front. It would be almost impossible to pivot on the toe. That would get you going too forward. So you might want to experiment on the long pulls to toe it, okay, or if you're in the opposite stance, heel it. Let's assume that we're going to run a reach block on a play that gets outside real fast, like a quick pitch or a toss sweep, where we're not trying to break the ball up inside, but we're just trying to get way outside. All right, if we're trying to get wide with a play, here's the type of techniques that you can use, all right? You can use a scramble block, all right, which we'll spend a little bit of time on. Number two, we can use what we call a quick wall block, all right, which we'll cover. And number three, we can use a technique where we actually pull to block the defender, all right? So let's just start off with, we've got a right tackle. Let's say Anthony's playing right tackle here. He's got a man on his outside shoulder, and he wants to scramble block him. And scramble blocking means we're going to get our head out into here, and we're going to get on all fours, and we're really going to cut off his pursuit. I feel that all these plays start from the basics, which is the drop step. So I'll talk a little bit about the right tackle, scramble blocking, a man on his outside shoulder. He's in his stance. All right, the ball is snapped. He's going to take a drop step, you know, fairly quick, but he's going to lose some ground. He's going to throw his outside shoulder and hand, boom, past the defender's outside knee. He's going to try to get his head and body outside with a lunging type action that I'm sure most of you've used when you've taught the scramble block. You're going to try to get that past his knee, and what you want to do is never go to your knees. If you happen to go to your hands with all fours, you can just scramble on all fours, and eventually you'd like to get your head and body going upfield if you can. Get your head and body going upfield if you can. But the point that'll get at a good scramble block is when you lose a little ground with that outside leg, your crossover step can come through to keep you going on that nice plane to neutralize it. You want to keep your head up, of course. Now, a lot of times on the scramble block, the defensive man will widen so he's tough to block, and that's where as you reach, you can actually roll, okay, and use a roll block, okay, to catch him and to sustain on him. All right, that's a little bit on the scramble technique. Again, the drop step, shoot the offhand, pass the onside knee, stay off your knees, work on all fours, try to get upfield with a tight neck squeeze, and you can use a reverse roll block if he does beat you. A quick wall block now is used when the ball's going outside and the defensive man is tight enough where, you know, you can get on them immediately. The ball's going wide right now, so you're not concerned about getting movement. And we use this, a quick wall block. Sometimes the guys call it a jump turn, okay? Now what we do is, all right, T-U-R-N, jump turn, all right? The ball would be snapped if I'm the right tack, the right tack in a right-handed stance. All right, I'm going to lose just a little drop step. The ball is snapped, and now watch what I do. Boom, all right? I just almost jump in midair, and I don't put my head front side, but my shoulders and my arms kind of twist the guy right now. Boom, all right? And I just wheel him to the inside. A lot of times, when my head goes slightly to the inside, it draws him down, and I just twist him. This is the quick wall or the jump turn. You know, Anth, we're running a quick toss sweep. The guy's almost head up with you. You're actually twisting him to the inside. You know, your hands might come up underneath like the upward lift. Just kind of walk through it, all right? You almost hop. On hut. Ready, set, hut. The last technique, of course, if the man is a little wider than you, and the ball is going wide, you have to lose a little more ground and pull to get him. So if I'm the right tackle, my man is out there a little bit, same theory as all the plays. We got to lose a little ground to get our position, and as we go out there, and now on the reach block, this is one time that you're allowed to push with your hands and push the man, put your head outside and put your hands in his chest and push on him. So what we've tried to cover, we're running a real wide play. We want to reach block them. We can use a scramble block, a quick wall block, or a drop step and pull. Just go to a basic discussion about how to block linebackers, all right? Now, we must understand that in this series of tapes, there's a lot of different plays and a lot of different linebacker plays and a lot of different angles and so forth. So let's just keep it very simple on basic contact versus linebackers. If our left tackle, Anthony Munoz, has got to block this linebacker over him, he's got to know the same thing as all the other linemen do. Where is the ball going? Is the ball going inside of him? Is the ball going outside of him? Is the ball going right at the point of attack? And basically, you can use some of those things we talked about earlier as far as his landmarks. This is the down lineman, but now he's 3 or 4 yards deeper. what I've said to you is, the deeper the linebacker over the top of you, the deeper and wider your drop step has to be to get over here and get your position on him, okay? If the linebacker were closer up in front of you, you wouldn't have to drop as wide to get your position on him, okay? Let's hope that makes sense to you, that the deeper the linebacker, okay, the deeper, okay, and wider the angle's got to take so he can get on whatever track it takes to intercept the linebacker. So to make it very simple, men and ladies, the angle you need to take to get the linebacker is the angle that he is going to flow to, the angle he is going to get to. You don't want to fire straight out at a linebacker and he moves and you don't have the proper position. So, in simple terms, the deeper the linebacker, the deeper and wider your drop step to get on your proper angle to block him. Okay, now let's go to the basic contact phase on a linebacker, right? Let's say a linebacker, all right, we'll draw the left tackle again. Anthony Munoz has got to block a linebacker. Let's say the ball's coming right over him and he takes his drop step and he's going for his outside head position on the punch block. As he goes to there, if that linebacker's fairly close to him, let's say 3 yards, he can actually duck into him. When I say duck into him, all right, I'll be the left tackle, I'll take my drop step, but I'm going to run as fast as I can, but with the wide base. All right? Now what happens is, if I run on the balls of my feet, which they might do because they got to get there fast, then just before they hit them, they've got to get that wide base. They've got to break down and get to the duck and then gather themselves and strike up through and block the man. I'm not saying stop and pass block them. My point is, if you go out to block a linebacker and your feet are right close together, you don't have the duck, you're going to hit, you're going to fall off the block. You have no base, you have no demeanor. So again, our left tackle, drop step, body control, bam! Blast them, but stay with the weight on your insteps, keep the wide base. Remember everything from the start. Are you a waist bender? Are you a knee bender? Are you strong? So when you block a linebacker, basically before you strike them, you have to gather yourself, come under control, get up underneath the pads, and do the demeanor technique on the linebacker. What we'd like to touch on a little bit now is different ways to finish the block. We're talking run blocking now, basically, but some of these principles can be used in pass blocking. All right, first of all, on the finish of the block, what we're saying is, I have a t-shirt, and I wear this t-shirt on days we emphasize this technique right here, or this part of the game, and it says, did you finish, okay? Did you finish? Now, if you're real interested in get a good offensive line, this may be the one thing that you stress that you're really trying to improve for your year. And you give them all t-shirts, or you give them hats, or you write things on the board. And the point I'm trying to make, to do all these techniques well, it takes a lot of time. So you may say, boy, we really want to finish the blocks this year better than we've ever finished. So you might not be able to spend as much time on the other things we've talked about because you can only emphasize so many things in the time allotted. So let's talk about different ways to really finish off the block. Now, what is finish? That's an attitude, all right? And different buzzwords that you might want to pick up and use is sustain. Sustain means S-U-S-T-A-I-N, right? Stay on the block, stay on the block. Don't stop until the whistle. Another word is interval. Interval is the time that the play starts until the referee blows the whistle. So, again, if you want to really stress this part of the game, finish, make sure everything starts on the snap count and ends on the whistle. Okay? Another way that you can rate the attitude and the finish technique is, as you're looking at the game film and so forth, that you spend more time and more attention to grading, okay, the finish, all right? And again, this is a big part of the game. Your finishes, they may be called pancakes, all right? They may be called decleaters. You know, you knock them right off their cleats, all righty? They may call them big blocks, whatever you want to call them, but you may give slides some awards for finishing the block, and then that's a real attitude. So you might take 5 to 7 minutes a day working on isolating the finish. So basically what we're talking about, how do I finish or stay on the block? All right, now the head coach may say, get them to stay on the blocks. Well, that's easier said than done. All right, the whole attitude of staying on the blocks, the same thing, comes from your demeanor. Remember what we started from at the first. A guy can fire out as hard as he can and hit a guy, but if his feet cross over and he's on the balls of his feet as he's blocking, the man will shrug him and throw him off, and he'll be out of control. But as he hits and drives, if he gets that wide base and gets that demeanor of his feet, when the defender goes right or left, I can drop and lose ground and adjust. Basically what we're saying is that in the finish of the block, the offensive blocker can be out of control. That's why he falls off the block. That's why he doesn't finish the block. So we have some drills that we teach them, and we call them finish blocks, all right? And one block we use is called a feet, drive, and finish. We lock the blocker in to a good position. We have him move his feet in the demeanor. We have him drive the man back. The defensive man lets him block him back. Then he tries to get away from him and shed him and some of those things. So it teaches you how to move and stay on the man, how to lose a little ground, sustain, and stay on the blocks. But you have to practice that. Sometimes we have the man spin. We have another little drill that we do that we start off the same way. We have the blocker put his hands behind his back, just like this. We lock him right into the defensive man, all right? Then we say feet and drive, and then I have the defensive man try to shove him away, and when you can't use your hands, sometimes you tip way forward. Again, sometimes you tip way forward. But if you learn how to use that demeanor as you're blocking, you can adjust, and we'll see some of those things when we're working with Anthony. So again, you lock the man up into a one-on-one situation, and you try to get the blocker out of control. Here's the blocker, here's the defender. You may have the blocker block him, and then you have the defensive guy move. And you try to get the blocker off his center of gravity. Shrug him, pull him, and the blocker must sustain the block. Okay, number 2 we talked about a little earlier is a stalemate. What happens? Okay, here's Anthony, the left tackle. He hits the man, nothing, a stalemate. Boom. Remember, that's the one. The finish is emphasized. When you get no movement, and it's just a stalemate, you teach him how to widen and quicken the feet as fast as he can. Then when the defensive guy sheds off him, you recover and finish him off. But you've got to train that finish, all right? Number 3 is a twist technique. A twist technique is when, let's say the left tackle is blocking this man, and he kind of runs to the outside where you can hardly catch him. You take your inside hand or fist and actually twist him to the outside. Wham! You take his momentum, and you can shove him 2 people further than you think you can by if you just stood on the block. Okay? And then the last technique is a cut technique or a chop technique, which is totally legal. And your guys that are most aggressive and really are tough, hard-nosed football players will use this technique. And that's, you're driving, you're digging, you're staying on the block, and they finish the block by going down and ripping up and rolling and leg whip. I don't want to use the word leg whip, which is totally legal, right? But what I'm saying is that you finish the block on the ground with some sort of a roll block and so forth. So, but all of these things, all right, which we will demonstrate, are attitudes that you could go from, say for 7 to 10 minutes a day, and you may take a little off your point of attack blocking, but your team will sustain, they'll block the interval, and they'll grade a little better on the finishing if you work on that part of it. All right, this is his inside foot. This is his outside foot. His hands are up, and his fingers are basically almost touching each other. His head isn't way back, but it isn't way forward. He kind of tucks. I'm pushing you backwards. I'm sure you know how we try to pull you and push you and all that kind of stuff.
Now you have a fast guy. You want to cut that angle with the speed, so you pre-kick, you're back here, and you use a scoot. You get back there.